But all of a sudden, my anxiety just got higher and higher and higher to the point that I did not sleep for 3 days. It was really bad. Like when I tell you no sleep, I know some people say that, but they still got 1 or 2 hours. No, I'm talking about 0 minutes, 0. On the 3rd day, I was pretty much hallucinating. So,
and you believed it was all because of postpartum depression. Like this is like that was hitting you.
It was something. I just couldn't sleep. Like I was just restless. I was filled with fear. Like I thought I was gonna die. Like it was so much fear that I had. I would be like screaming my lungs out in the middle of the night because I didn't know what was happening.
Like actual screaming?
Actual screaming.
Wow.
I'll be like getting up out the bed and I'll be walking in circles. I remember this. And I'll be like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I was literally losing it. Like something's going to happen. Something's going to happen to me. I was afraid of absolutely everything.
And you didn't know where it was coming from.
In my head, I was like, this is postpartum, right? Is this what this is? Like, is this my anxiety? Is this the fear? Is this like, at this point, I also got spiritual. Is this the enemy just taking a hold of me right now? Like, what is happening?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Carlos Granados podcast. And today I have, of course, another special guest, and we're going to talk about a new topic, a new interesting topic. But before we get into it, I want to thank everybody who has been subscribing to my channel, who has been listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. I appreciate all the love that I've gotten, and it's been a blessing. Just keep grinding for you guys. So without further ado, let me introduce my new and special guest, Jazmine. How are you doing today?
I am doing amazing.
I told you I was going to click that before we get in. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Your house is beautiful. I have to say that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think I have a nice little setup. It's nothing crazy. People don't know sometimes, even you didn't, that I recorded on my camera, but
yeah, but I love it. I enjoyed it, and like I'm ready to talk about anything.
Awesome. No, but we got a special topic that we're going to talk about, and is postpartum depression and anxiety. You've been through that, and for the listeners and watchers out there, I do want to say this might be a sensitive topic to a lot of people. We had a sensitive topic and a very, just deep topic last week, and I've kind of forgot to mention anything because I didn't know it was going to get that far and that deep. But today I will mention that. So if you guys are listening or watching, just letting you guys know that it might get really deep as Jazmine shares her story. And of course, haven't listened to a lot of it myself. So I'm preparing myself for that. So Jazmine, let's get into it. What is postpartum depression? What was it like for you? And even anxiety? How did you handle that? What did you go through? Tell me about your story. I would love to listen to all of this, because to me as a man, this is, first of all, new to me.
Yes.
And around my family, I feel like even depression, anxiety, when it comes to like cultural, like in Hispanic households, we don't take that too serious. The mental health and stuff like that. Yes. At least that's been my experience. So I want to know, like, what was it like with you, and, what happened?
Yeah. So like you were saying, mental health, unfortunately, is not taken that seriously. I guess in Hispanic households, unfortunately, it's not like it's not taken seriously. It's more like, they think you're going to get over it really fast. So, if you tell, maybe your parents or grandparents, like, oh, I feel anxious or depressed or something like that, they might be like, just get going, do something, get busy. Maybe you need to like go outside for a little bit and then you'll be okay. Right. Until, maybe one of them or, they realize that you're not okay. And it's been like, it's something that's like constantly, like it's an everyday kind of thing. Like you're always on a low mood or you're not feeling okay. But in my case, I feel like it took me by surprise. I didn't know that I was going to deal with postpartum depression and anxiety. Now I've had depression, I guess mild depression and anxiety when I was like a teenager. Okay. My moods were usually like, up and down as a teenager, but I feel like that's something that maybe like you deal with. I don't know if that happened to you. Like when you hit like puberty, like for some reason, like your hormones are all over the place. And then like your emotions are like also like you're kind of trying to discover yourself too, right, in the midst of everything. So at the time, obviously, as a teenager, I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like, it felt like the end of the world kind of thing. And my mom, as usual, my mom has always been there by my side. She was there for me during the whole process, but it obviously does not compare when I actually got hit with the postpartum. You can't compare it to that.
So you feel like that was in another different level?
Yes. So when I do like a parallel on both, like obviously like the postpartum was way worse than what I thought it was like when I was a teenager.
Right.
And like I said, the likelihood of me going through that was higher just because I experienced it through my younger years.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which I didn't know until I gave birth, and I went to my doctor, and she will ask me like, how are you doing? How's the baby doing and everything? And I'll be like, well, feeling very angry.
Wow.
I've been very angry. Like, I've been getting emotional about just random things that, like, I was like a little kid. I was just getting angry about random stuff, just crying about almost everything. It felt like I literally was on, like, my woman's cycle in a way, but severe.
On steroids.
Yes, pretty much. So she was like, and then that's when she asked me that question. Have you dealt with depression and anxiety when you were a teenager? Or when you were younger? Or do you recall any of that? Or do your family members, have they experienced this before? Because it also affects if you didn't experience it, but a family member did, a close one, then it can also like, put you in on that.
Oh, that's interesting actually that they even mentioned that. Who would have thought?
So I was like, you know what? Now that you mention it, when I was a teenager, I did struggle with my emotions a lot. I did go through periods of anxiety, depression, and whatnot. And she was like, okay, well, then this is unfortunately what's going to happen to you. That's why you're going through this. And usually, I think they say 1 in 4 women actually experience postpartum depression, but not every woman realizes that that's what it is. They just think it's like, oh, my hormones are trying to regulate. It's going to go away. Or they ignore it. In my case, I just couldn't ignore it. Like, it was really I didn't feel like myself.
Wow.
And I was getting really frustrated because I was like, I am not like this. Like, what is happening? And the easy solution, of course, is to always give you medication. That's the first thing she did. She was like, so do you want to be on medication? And I was like, oh, man, I don't like medication. Like, I am very reluctant. Like, I've always been like that. My family has always been like that, unless it's super necessary.
Right.
Unless you just got out of surgery and you definitely need the medication, the painkillers or whatnot. And I was like, I guess I can try it. My mom obviously was against it. She was like, so what did the doctor say? And I was like, she gave me, I think it was sertraline.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a commercial name. I don't remember. It's called sertraline. I don't know if it's Lexapro. I don't know.
But it was anxiety medication.
It was
depression.
for depression. And then she's like, it's going to help you in like 4 to 6 weeks is going to kick in. And I'm like, no. I want it to work right now so I can be okay.
I wonder why it takes that long.
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
I was already very frustrated and angry about everything. So when she said it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks, I was like, I can't wait. Like, can you give me something that's going to work right now? And she's like, it doesn't work like that.
Dang. So what did you have to do?
So
wait it out?
I tried to take the medication for like 2 days. And I didn't like it.
Did it make you feel, did you give it like a side effect of anything, or you just didn't like the taste, or what didn't you like about it?
I don't know. It made me feel like I had 3 cups of coffee in a way. It just kept me too awake. And like all of a sudden everything was exciting and like, and I was like, it just made me feel weird. Like, how did I go from like feeling really low to like, oh my gosh, everything is wonderful in a way, but just kind of coding everything else that I was feeling within, because I still had moments of sadness, of course.
So kind of putting like a Band-Aid over it.
Yeah. And I didn't like it. it also gives you physical symptoms. So it can make you feel nauseous or upset your stomach really bad. And of course, it did that to me. I did not like it at all.
Wow. Wow. You know, you mentioned that, your mom was against taking the medication. Again, is this back to like because she doesn't believe in it? Or is that what it is? Because Stephanie, the guest I had last week, she also kind of looked at the medication as like, I don't know, maybe family looks at anxiety or depression medication as like a sign of weakness because you're taking things that, for your brain, and you just, like you were talking about earlier, get over it, sleep it off, or you be better type deal. But sometimes I think, I don't know, I feel like the mental health issues get to a point where it's just like, you can't just do that. You might need something else. You know what I mean? So what do you think that was?
My mom didn't think I needed it just because I wasn't like this before giving birth or even through pregnancy. My pregnancy was very smooth. Like, I didn't have the crazy symptoms that sometimes you get, like the terrible nausea and all of those things. It was very smooth. Like, Lucas was just like a blessing. Like, he gave me no issues.
Until
the
he
issues
came out.
Yeah. Yeah. The issues came when he was out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, my mom saw it as like as something that was temporary. So she's like, this is temporary. This is not you. You don't you haven't been struggling with depression your whole life or anxiety your whole life. You have seasons where, you can struggle with it, but it's not severe. So do you want to really depend on this medication? That's how she will see it. And I was like, I don't want to depend on medication because tapering off, I think that's how they say it, because you have to do that. You can just go cold turkey. Like, you can just like one day decide not to take it once you start taking it constantly, because it can really affect you.
Okay.
So I was thinking about that too. Like, if I take this for 1 year, because they were telling me like you might have to take it for 1 year or 2 years, and then all of a sudden not take it, that will definitely do something to your brain. I feel like you would.
Yeah. Plus, you kind of might have to get used to that medication, and then coming off of it.
And then
also could be a struggle.
what if you get it again? Like, I was thinking that too. Like, what if I start a medication 1 year, 2 years? Okay, I'm cool. And then, okay, now you can stop taking it slowly. And then what if those symptoms come again?
So you believe that the medication probably only suppress it for that 1 year, and then eventually,
I thought so,
not kind of cure the bottom line, like the root cause of your issues.
I believe so. I'm more towards like therapy, or if you're going to take medication, I really feel like you should do both. Okay. I really feel like you should do therapy and medication alongside if that's really what you need, because in my opinion, I feel like medication on its own is not really going to solve all of your problems. I feel like talking it out with someone, with a professional, and saying how you really feel, like it will really make you get better.
Right. Wow.
I don't know what you think about that.
No, I mean, so I actually, when it comes to medication itself, there's some things that I, believe that can help you a lot. I couldn't take when I was going through like my anxiety problems and stuff. I tried medication one time, but I couldn't handle it because of my GERD problem. So I really didn't know how
it gives you those symptoms.
See, and I already am sensitive for that.
I know.
I'm already sensitive to GERD because I've suffered from that. So when I take anxiety medication, then it makes it worse. At night, I wasn't able to sleep. I mean, I was able to get like, first of all, like maybe 3-4 hours of sleep, but it was hard going to sleep in the first place. Even if I took the medication in the morning, I could eat, drink throughout the day, and it's not like it's flushing it out. I feel like it's still in my stomach, and those symptoms gave me a lot of like acid issues, and I wasn't able to go to sleep. A lot of medications that are strong affect me like that. And I think, at least personally for me, it's one of the things that is very unfortunate, because there's things that can help you, but I still can't take it.
It's not like the side effects.
Yeah.
And you hear it, and when you hear it on the ads too, like, it's like, this helps with diabetes, and it's like a side effect. It's death. It's literally death. I see it all the time. I'm like, I'm not taking it. I'd rather have the diabetes, whatever, or the hypertension. Side effects, death. Like, that's not gonna happen.
I've seen the commercials where like they do give like a new drug or whatever, but side effects are blah, 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 and I'm like,
You get
Wait.
liver damage and kidney disease and all of these
Yeah.
things. And I'm like, what are you doing here?
It may
Like,
cause diarrhea, back pain, stomach aches, whatever. And I'm just like,
blindness, blurry vision, anything, heart attack, like just a whole list.
yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's a big pharma thing. I don't know. I'm just
No, we're gonna definitely get into a mix. We might get canceled.
just kidding.
No, you're good. No, we're good. So continue to your story then. So what ended up happening after the medication? Like, what continued after that? What were you feeling? What did you do?
So, the interesting part is that when I gave birth, I had the moods and everything. That's when I went to the doctor. She tried to give me the medication and whatnot. And I tried it for 1 or 2 days and I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then Christmas passed by. I was okay in a way. And then New Year's as well. And then the second week of January, something happened in my brain. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was. But all of a sudden, my anxiety just got higher and higher and higher to the point that I did not sleep for 3 days. It was really bad. Like when I tell you no sleep, I know some people say that, but they still got 1 or 2 hours. No, I'm talking about zero minutes, zero. On the third day, I was pretty much hallucinating. So,
and you believed it was all because of postpartum depression. Like that was hitting you.
It was something. I just couldn't sleep. Like I was just restless. I was filled with fear. Like I thought I was gonna die. Like it was so much fear that I had. I would be like screaming my lungs out in the middle of the night because I didn't know what was happening.
Like actual screaming?
Actual screaming.
Wow.
I'll be like getting up out of the bed and I'll be walking in circles. I remember this. And I'll be like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I was literally losing it. Like something's going to happen. Something's going to happen to me. I was afraid of absolutely everything.
And you didn't know where it was coming from.
In my head, I was like, this is postpartum, right? Is this what this is? Like, is this my anxiety? Is this the fear? Is this like, at this point, I also got spiritual. Is this the enemy just taking a hold of me right now? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, your mind was in the blender
I
right
was just out of it. And of course, your body cannot function without sleep. So on the third day, I ended up in the ER and they were asking me like, so what's the problem? And I was like, I just can't sleep.
I heard that, well, a couple things that I want to mention. So I heard that a person's likely to die faster from no sleep than from like no food or water. So like sleep is important.
It's very important.
Yeah, especially water. Water you can go for I mean food, I think you can go for a minute, but water is important, man. So quick
I think water is like maybe a week. I think food is like 3 months that you can be without.
Yeah. And sleep, I think it's like
Probably I was right there on the third day.
Yeah, probably
it was me on the third day.
You were on the verge. You need to get put under because I was going to ask you, so from when you had the baby till you started having these symptoms, how long was that? Like when did you have Lucas and then?
So Lucas was born December 15th and I will say
so it's like a month.
A month like in it affected me. So it hit me really hard.
Okay.
So since I ended up in the ER, they obviously gave me the nice drugs that they have and I was able to sleep.
Listen, those be hitting different too.
Hey. I think it was Valine or something. Okay. And she was like, I can't prescribe you this because I'm scared you're going to overdose yourself. Because I think she knew. She obviously asked, like, why is this happening? She's like, I just gave birth. And I think she knew. And she said, okay, so it sounds like postpartum depression and anxiety. So I'm not going to give you this medication. Because I think she was really scared that I was just like,
so did you sleep in the ER, or you took the medication home to go like sleep afterwards?
No, I slept for a little bit there, but it it kept me really drowsy. Like it lifted up my mood too. It was weird. It was a very good medication. I really liked it.
Listen, they know what to give you when you go there.
It was really nice. I was like, wow, this feels good. Can I take this every day? But
I think that's you know what? Maybe they were right. Why
she said.
Maybe they were right not to give you the medication because you would have went to sleep forever.
No, yeah, but it was just that one night, and then the struggle started after that. The medication were off, and I was like the anxiety again. So it was really tough, and because everything was new, me being a new mom. And Odir, of course, like
Who's your husband?
yes.
Shout out Adir.
Yeah.
What's good, Papa? Which I'll see you here soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
We're gonna talk about Adir's experience from the outside looking in. That's what I need to hear.
No, it was, he can tell you his part.
Okay.
But everything was new. It definitely affected us a lot as a marriage to like new marriage in a way. It was like probably being married for like a year or so at the time. So he didn't know what to do. And of course I can't blame him. At the time I did blame him. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what to do?
Yeah.
You know, like you're supposed to know what to do. Like, help me.
You're the man.
Find a solution.
Fix it.
But now of course I look back and I'm like, of course I wouldn't have known what to do either. Everything was new. Postpartum, the baby, newlyweds, like just new.
Yeah.
So the easiest solution or fastest, I guess, was me going back to my mom's house. And it had to happen. And my mom was scared for me too. So she's like, I'd rather have you here with me because Odir's going back to work.
Right.
So you cannot be alone with a baby.
Okay. So did you move back to your mom's house? Is that what you're saying?
I did. I moved back to my mom's house. My room was still there. So she's like, welcome back.
I knew you'd be back.
Right? With a baby. So because I was struggling so much with resting and stuff and my anxiety, my mom was like, you know what? I'm going to take care of Lucas. So she decided to, I guess, just take over completely.
Wow.
Yeah. So Lucas was in my mom's room the whole time, my parents' room. And I would be in my room there just like looking at the ceiling, like not knowing what to do with my life.
Yeah, that's kind of depressing.
Yeah, it was really sad. And it was sad because I will be there in my room and I will listen Lucas cry and I'll hear my mom, you know, like feeding him and everything. And then she'll go and check on me. So it was like a process, I will say, of 2 intense months. Like it was just 2 months like of just constantly her like just focusing on Lucas, but also checking on me in the middle of the night. Because I was like pretty much another baby at that point. I felt like another baby. I felt like a little girl. Right. Like I can't sleep. I'm afraid. I have anxiety. And she will be like, what are you thinking? What's going on? Wow. You need something. Like she was like literally afraid that she was losing her daughter, like mentally in a way. She was afraid of that. And I was afraid too. I was like, when is this going to be over? It didn't help that I was very impatient too. You know, I wanted a quick fix and that doesn't happen. And I was getting even more angry. Like, why is this happening to me? I just gave birth. Like, I think this is a punishment. What did I do wrong? Why me? Like, I would tell that to my mom. Like, why is this happening to me? And that's when it also got even more spiritual. And I was like, God doesn't like me, you know? God is against me. And she's like, don't say that. And she's like, and I will be like, yes, he is against me. He doesn't like me. Like, then why is he making me go through this? Why do I have to go through this? Like, wasn't it enough when this happened to me or when that happened to me and now this? Why? So, of course, she will be like just praying over me and be like, it's going to get better. Don't worry. What do you need? What do you want? And I was like, I don't want to be here. You know, it got to the point. I do not want to be here. She will see me. And like every other day, I remember like she would be like, okay, so how is it going? I don't want to be here.
And when you say you don't want to be here, is you don't want to be living?
Yes, I want it. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want this life. I don't need this. Like, and I would be like, I will remember also like talking to Adir and telling him like, you'll be good. You'll be great on your own. You'll be a great dad. You can do it by yourself. And he's like, what are you talking about? That's not going to happen. And then he's like, where's your mom? She's right here. She's right here. And then he's like, okay, I'm just making sure that you're not alone, because I was surrounded by my mom. Right. So my family in general, which is a good thing that I was surrounded by the right people during those times.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, your close family members need to be there for you, because
it's a good thing that I wasn't alone in the apartment while Adir was working, you know? Yeah. And so she was right when she said, I think it's the best if you come over and I can keep an eye on you, because she works from home. Right. So I can definitely keep an eye on her. Gotcha.
Nah, for real. Man. So how did it, you said it lasted 2 months, and how did you start coming out of it? How did you start recovering?
It was an intense 2 months. Eventually we found a good therapist. I don't recall her last name is Guzman. And she was amazing. She's a Colombian, and I was able to click with her instantly as soon as I had my first appointment with her. And I explained everything to her, everything that happened to me, like, because I was so frustrated about me trying out, because I talked to other therapists previous to her, and like even psychiatrists, but I don't feel like they were helping me much.
Okay.
Because I feel like usually what they do, they try to know your story, but they just go too much around the circle. And I'm like, can we just get to the point? Because I'm like, I'm here to like get to the point, and you tell me or give me advice or tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And with this lady, she heard my story, but she was never judgmental, and she was very understanding. Also, she was a mom herself, so I guess that helped too.
Yeah.
So talking it out, even though I felt miserable sometimes going there, it helped me a lot. And she recommended also taking medication. And I was like, can we just try to do therapy, and then I'll figure the rest out? And she'll be like, okay, fine. So that's what happened. I had to be, I guess, very strong-minded and be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it with therapy. I am going to start praying or something. I have to do something. So I remember I started praying, even though I said I was angry at God, but then I was like saying like, maybe I should do the opposite. Maybe I shouldn't be that angry at God.
Yeah.
So then I started praying, and then I started reading Bible verses, things that apply to me, of course. I wasn't reading the whole Bible. I was just reading things that apply maybe to anxiety or maybe to feeling like angry or depressed, which is usually the book of Psalms that helps you with that. So I focused on that. I remember listening to like sermons online. So all of that, even though, like I said, even if I was getting like maybe 4 hours of sleep or like 3 hours, or maybe I really had a very bad night, I will continuously do that, because then since I started thinking that it was more kind of like a spiritual thing, because it can happen.
Right.
When I realized that maybe it could have been a spiritual thing, then I decided to just get closer to God and decided that maybe this is just the enemy testing me out or something. Something's happening.
Yeah. I think it could be from like, since you were already getting, let's say from like the postpartum, right? Depression or anxiety that you had. When you were getting hit by all of that, then your mental, your spiritual, your physical got really low.
Everything got really low.
You know what I mean? So then the enemy might have used other things to attack you.
I think he did.
For you to be angry at God, to even be like, why me? When the Bible always talks about always be grateful. It doesn't matter where you're at, but always be grateful, right? I got a question for you. Do you feel like that, and now that we're talking about the spiritual realm of things, did you feel like that built your character? Like, did you feel like that made you a better person? The struggle that you went to, and if so, how? Like, what do you feel like you gained, or maybe you learned from that experience?
I don't know. I honestly feel like I've been through different trials, like through my whole life in a way. And to me, out of all of the trials, this was the greatest one.
This is the biggest one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the biggest ones. And I'm going to say, like, some people might think, like, how did this get you closer to God? I'm like, it did, believe it or not, because he works like that. He uses anything to work to his favor.
Right.
We might not
even if it's bad.
Yeah, we might not understand it at that point, but once I guess you're out of that, like that hurricane, those problems or issues or whatnot, then that's when he's like there. He's like in the midst of your storm in a way. So I feel like I did get closer to him. And after I was out of this storm, it made me realize that it was all for his glory. Maybe he wanted me to use this story or my experience to maybe like share with others or inspire others, or like make them realize, like it's not the end of the world. Postpartum, like, yes, it's really tough, but if you're obviously surrounded by good people and, they're there for you, and you have the support system that you need, and that you continue to have faith and pray, you will be able to come out of it. Even if at that moment you think like, no, I'm not. No, this is impossible. I'm never gonna get out of this hole. Which is what I thought. I'm never gonna get out of this hole. Like it's just like impossible. Like what's gonna happen? Like something's gonna happen to me. I really thought like this is it. This is the end.
And when you're low in life, it really hits you like that. It really hits you with you feel like you never see the other side. You feel like you're never gonna get over that hump or whatever storm you're going through. And I think this is where, I mean, the Bible talks about it all the time where like, this is where faith is built. Like it's easy to have faith when everything's going great for you. But what about when you hit bottom and everything is going the opposite way? How do you react?
Yeah.
And that's where your character will be built. This is where your faith will be built, because now you have stories. I think I shared something like this along the lines of I think on my Instagram stories. One of those things probably like a month ago or so, where like it's something along the lines of, you know, when you suffer or when you go through struggles, like it makes you more like Jesus. So like when you look at it that way, that you are kind of resembling what Jesus went through or what he did, and it gets you closer to him, then it's like you look at different perspective. You know what I mean? And like that is kind of also comforting too, because at the end of his time, Jesus, when he was about to be crucified, I mean, he was bleeding out of his skin and he was so petrified, kind of feeling the same fears and issues that we suffer. You know what I mean? And that's like very comforting, because like this is a man who was perfect his whole life.
Yeah.
And he still suffered even more than we did. Who are we not to like be graceful for that, or like be grateful and like appreciate that journey? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's through the Bible too. Even, you know, Jesus was tested or tempted, and many other people in the Bible were tested in a way. Like I think what is it? Job?
Job as well. Yeah, Job.
You read his story
The
and
book
it's
of
like,
Job
this
is
man,
wild.
how much can he handle?
Yeah.
And I think I remember, I think I read some of that when I was going through it, and I'm like, damn, he went through a lot.
Yeah.
And here I am, but I'm also going through a lot. So
Yeah.
But you're right. And it definitely made me stronger, and it made me realize that God is in control. And I know a lot of people say that, but at the time, because I was so anxious and depressed, I think you get anxiety when you feel like you're in control. I'm in control of this. So it's up to me if I live today, or it's up to me if like, you know, anything. Like I was trying to control things that we can't really control. You know, God actually decides, this is your last day. I'm so sorry. Like, that's it. You're coming with me. It is what it is. So it helped me to also let go of that control that I struggled with so much, because my fear was like, what if I'm gone? Then who's going to take care of Lucas? Or maybe it's best if I'm gone. You know, it was like contradicting myself all the time.
Yeah.
And then God showed me like, no, I am in control. You're going to be fine. And like, just let me be and let me work in you, you know? And like months after that, I remember I joined this Bible study with 2 other women, and it was great. And the funny part is that, like I said before, like God works in mysterious ways. The Bible study was about when God doesn't want to fix it, or like when he doesn't want to fix it, like the problem. That was pretty much the whole Bible study. And I was like, really? The Bible study is called When He Doesn't Fix It.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is crazy. I mean, I was getting better, but sometimes, you know, maybe when you get hit with diseases and something like that, you start questioning that. Like, why doesn't he want to heal me? Why doesn't he want to fix this? Why? And like I said, he can be using your story to share to others, your testimony, to increase your faith. And maybe if he doesn't do it here on this earth, he's gonna do it in heaven. One way or another, he's going to heal you. It might not be here in your time here, but it might be in heaven. That's how I see it.
I feel like they're talking to me right now, bro. Because I have to literally battle those. I have to go through those fights myself. Like, so just to open up a little bit. So I've always told myself, right, because I've been dealing from health issues, and you've dealt with your own health issues, and even in, you know, mental, physical, but myself, I've dealt with, you know, both as well. And one of the things that you have to remember is like, sometimes you don't know if God would heal me. Like, what if his purpose is not for me to be healed on, for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
And accepting that as a human
Yeah.
being, it's
And it's
so
hard.
hard
Mm-hmm.
because you have to accept living a life of struggles and health issues, and those health issues cause other issues to come along,
Mm-hmm.
and things just keep piling on like a snowball effect. And along that journey, you still have to continue your faith and still love Jesus, right? Because he teaches us to, there's the saying, seek the healer and not the healing. So we still have to love him for who he is, and love him not for what he can do for you, but who he was when he sacrificed his own son for us. And that is like, it's a mixture of things and a mixture of emotions, because that makes sense. But at the same time, you're like, because we're humans, we're selfish. We want to be better. We want to be healthy.
Yeah.
We are,
Right away.
Yeah, exactly. We want
Like,
things
heal
to
me
happen.
now.
Yeah, you want things to happen. Like, oh, Lord, I've been doing better. I've been doing good. Like, why
Yeah.
is it not happening?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the questions you probably won't answer until the day we meet him. And it's sad, but again, that's faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally
It is,
faith.
and it
It's
can be
literally
really
faith.
confusing in your
Mhm.
head too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so this is why you did it. Or maybe you realize down the line, maybe when you're 80, you're like, oh, this is why this happened. Or he took
Yeah.
like him 25 years for this disease to get away from me, or whatever it is.
Right.
And I remember this clearly because I think I was reading some like about depression and anxiety, or like why just he doesn't take depression from certain people, because some people have clinical depression
Right.
or like clinical anxiety, and they really have to be on meds every single day because it's definitely necessary.
Mhm.
It's not like a temporary thing. Like, it was in my case, fortunately.
Right.
And you just have to accept it. It's like having diabetes.
Right.
You have to take your insulin if you have diabetes,
Yeah.
depending on the type that you have. But just like people with diabetes, people with mental health issues is the same thing,
Right.
and he might not take it away, but at least there is a solution on this earth at the moment for you to like carry on.
Right.
But it is difficult to try to understand why, God allows certain things in your life, and why do we have to go through so much pain?
Mhm.
And that's when the book of Psalms really helps, because of course, what is it, David, I think, is the one who wrote the book of Psalms.
I don't even know that one.
I think it's
I
David.
don't know that one.
It's not Paul. It's David. He went through a lot, and the book of Psalms is a little bit confusing too, because when you read some verses, they're kind of like glorifying God, and in some other verses, it seems like he's really angry. So David goes through it. He's like really like praising God, and then he goes through moments in where he's like, it seems like he's really angry at him. Like, why are you making me go through this? Why are my enemies against me? Or just all these things. And in another verse, oh, Lord, you're wonderful. You're magnificent. Everything is amazing. And he goes like that through the whole book. And that's literally how I feel.
Isn't that like human emotions? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't like us though? Like,
It's like, I love you, Lord. This is going great. Oh my gosh. Why is this happening to me now? What is wrong?
Yeah. I feel like that's literally us though. Like,
Yeah.
even in the Bible, for people who were, really, even people who are in the Bible itself, they really had to go through the same things we're going through. If some of even more than we did, and feel like we can relate to some of them, but at the same time, I feel like the emotions, it's like natural human emotions. Sometimes we praise God, and sometimes we're like, yo, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What's happening? You know what I mean? And by the way, mentioning the book of Job, if you're struggling or going through a lot of like health issues, or just in a dark place in your head, read the book of Job, because that man went through it, ladies and gentlemen. And at the end of the day, I don't want to spoil it for you, but God pulled through, and
he did. I think he was tested, right?
Oh, he was tested. The enemy,
I think I was angry about that, because God allowed the enemy to test him. And I think I got angry when I read that.
You guys, look, so in the book of Job, and I've read it myself too, because I've gone through a lot of issues too, and you kind of want to relate to what's going on. But yeah, so the enemy came to the Lord, and basically told them the only reason Job praises you the way he does, and he loves you the way he does because you've given him everything.
Mm-hmm.
You have his beautiful family. He has excessively amount of money, farm, animals. I mean, he has the life, a perfect family. And God was like, I'll prove you wrong that that's not the case. Like he was like, you can do anything. So he told the devil, you can do anything to him except take his life. Because obviously only
But
God
almost took his life. He wanted to end. I mean, he pretty much wanted his life to end in a way.
Who?
Because Job,
of course,
of all the
right.
struggles that he went through.
Correct, but just actual taking his life, the God was like, you can't take his actual physical life.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed to do, but you can do whatever you want to him. And imagine that. Imagine that. God giving the enemy permission to just do whatever as he pleases with you. Oh my God. And then obviously read the rest of the story because, God, he went through it. His friends too.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the difficult part too, though. When we go through issues, you need the right people to be there for you.
Yeah.
Like you said, like your mom in that situation with you.
She was like my saving grace at
Right.
the time. And of course, my family. But my mom, I've always been very close to my mom. So at the time, I don't feel like I would have done it if she would have not been there for me. You have to have the right people. And not just be surrounded by people. Because they usually tell you, like, you're depressed, go out and hang out with people. No, the right kind of people.
The right
not just
people.
any people. Like, you can't go clubbing because you're depressed. That's not going to help you. That's not going to fill your spirit. That's not going to uplift you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be with someone who's, giving you good advice. And, like, even the spiritual advice can help.
Right.
Any kind, but like making sure that they're gonna be there for you all the way and not just give up on you because you're just being too much. You can't deal with you, so bye.
Yeah. People that love you, man. People that just love you and that really just care for you. And there's obviously you got to keep your family around, maybe like really close friends. But other than that, like I get it. Those moments are really tough. And sometimes you don't even want them to say anything. You just want them to be there for you. You don't have to say them. Just know that just as long as you're there, kind of as a source for maybe fighting for them, fighting for things. So is there anything else that you want to touch on the postpartum topic that maybe you want to share? Any advice that you will give to a woman that's going through something like this or who have and stuff like that? And I was going to ask you, are you afraid to get pregnant again and go through that same thing again?
You just reminded me that I was going to mention that.
I got you. That's what I'm hearing.
So it's definitely a very, I don't know. It's uncomfortable when people ask me like, oh, so you're going to have another child? Like, you want to get pregnant again? And my answer right now, up until this point, because Lucas was born in 2021, December, and it's February 2024. I have not changed my mind. And it's been like, look, I went through postpartum depression and I went through it. Like It was difficult. I think I could say like it took a good 6 months for me to be like, okay, I can do it. It's going to be okay. I still have my little struggles, but I can say 6 months, like in the year of 2022, it was like 6 months of me like trying to get better. So it's just that fear, that fear of like, what if this happens again? I'm not ready to do this again. Like, oh my gosh, it was horrible the first time. Even though my pregnancy was very smooth. Or there's that chance that you might not get postpartum depression because it can happen.
Right.
You might have it with the first child, but you don't have it with the second one. But then you have it again with the third one. So it kind of fluctuates. I have friends that they told me they had postpartum the 3 times they got pregnant. And I'm like, how do you do it? Wow. Like, how did you manage to even go on a third one after you had it the first and the second time? So right now, no, I think I am not mentally prepared yet to even like have another child. In my head, I'm like, no. Like I just think about those times and it seems like, oh, it was in 2022. It still feels kind of recent in a way.
Nah, it's not that long. Yeah, years and change. Plus, it's trauma.
It is trauma.
Hard. Hard.
I think it turned into trauma because after we went through it, not even my mom wanted to talk about it. She was like, okay, let's change the subject. Let's not talk about that.
She probably thought you were going to go spiral back into it too. And then she's going to have...
She's like, oh man, taking care of her every single night now again. And she was like, yeah, let's just not talk about it. Let's just forget about it. And I was like, okay. So even up until this point, maybe they talk about about it, or like they touch the subject of like, Jazmine, you know, remember how she went through that? And my mom is like, yeah, let's just forget it.
Dang, I don't blame her, man, because I mean, seeing your child like that and then also having to, you know, just look out after you, that's must have been difficult for her too, you know, because there's nothing she could have really done, you know, like to
Yeah,
just
it
help
it
you
was
get out of
definitely
that.
heartbreaking because I wish I would have been there, you know, those, I guess, first 3 4 months with Lucas. You
Mm-hmm.
know, me being the one who's there for him every time he'll wake up every 3 hours or
Yeah.
whatnot. But it was my mom. Of course, she sleep trained him for me, so I was blessed. So when the time came for me to go back to my place,
Yeah.
he was good. Like he was sleep through the
Yeah.
night. I got that positive side of it.
What would you think would have happened if, for example, let's say you have nobody and your mom is not helping you? Like, what if your mom didn't help you with Lucas for those months
I
and
don't
you,
know. That's just scary. I don't know what would have happened. I like. What do you think? Like,
because
if
you
she,
have a baby crying,
I know.
you're going through it mentally, and like
I
the more
think.
he keeps crying and he needs you, you need
Mm-hmm.
the Lord. You need everybody. You
Mm-hmm.
need love. You need,
No, yeah, I think I would have had to reach either like, you know, there's family members there,
yeah.
or like just call my mom. If she was maybe in Peru at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like, you need to be here now. Like,
Right.
I don't know what you need to do, or I go over there, something needs to happen. Because even though I was going through it, it's not like I wasn't thinking. I was just like, I need help. At least I was like
You were conscious of that.
I was conscious of that. I was like, I need help. I'm not doing well.
Right.
I need support. I need anything right now. Even like if we were even in another state, maybe if I would have given birth in Philly, I was thinking about that too. Imagine me going through that in Philly, far away from all
Right.
friends, all family. Then I probably would have had to go back to Georgia, or maybe reach the church,
Something.
something,
You would have done
the
something.
hospital, something.
Gotcha.
Because I think they do that. I don't know.
I mean, so I'm sure somebody would have helped you though if you actually reached. You just gotta look for that.
I would have been like, here, Carlos.
All right, time to play Call of Duty, my boy. Time to play a video game, Lucas. Let me teach you a thing or two. You came to the right place. We got a movie room. We can watch movies here. I don't know. Coco Melon, I heard, was popular. I don't know if Dora's around, but we're gonna watch something, my boy.
But my mom was like thinking about that too. She's like, imagine if you would have stayed in Philly, you know? And she's like, well, that didn't happen, Mom. God knows why that didn't happen. I think he knew in a way. God knows everything.
Right.
He probably
Yeah.
already knew that I was gonna get hit with postpartum depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
So because the idea was initially for me to give birth in Philly. And my mom was like, no, how about you come to Georgia and then you give birth
And then
here? So everything changed. And I'm glad that's how it went.
yeah, I'm glad for you too, because that sounds really bad. It sounds like a really bad case, like, especially when you're not in a mental state like that. Is there anything that you want to say to like the, like I know, like again, like the original question, like any tips or advice that you have for like a woman that goes through that or listens to your story? What do you think would help them, or maybe that helped you? I mean, I guess we talked about it here already, like the Lord and your family members.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know, sometimes of course that's not enough. Of course in my case, I was reluctant to take medication.
Mm-hmm.
But when there was other medication that I tried as well, not the one that she, you know, she gave me sertraline, I think that's the name of that medication. But then I tried Lexapro, which I think is more popular in a way.
Yeah.
That one made me feel like I was on a deeper hole. So I definitely felt that's when the suicidal thoughts came in too.
Wow.
So then I was like, you know what? No. You know what? This is not working for me. And sometimes it's like it's trial, test and trial too. It's just
Right.
it's trying out until something fits for you. So if you really feel like you need a medication, of course, you're gonna have to be patient though. You have to be patient because that one medication might not be good for you. It might not do the right things for you. It might make you feel worse. And then there's the right medication, and then it might make you feel better. But sometimes it takes like 6 different kinds of meds, and then you have to start and wait, you know, for
Right.
them to start working on you slowly. But I definitely recommend a very strong support group and therapy. Like I feel like I can emphasize how much therapy,
Helped you.
yeah.
So seek help basically. Seek
Yeah.
something that you feel like can't get you
Do not be
going.
alone. Do not stay alone. Like if you're struggling with it, especially if it's postpartum, do not stay alone with your baby. Especially if you're feeling angry, and especially if you're feeling angry towards your baby. That was not my case. I never wanted to hurt him or nothing. Like,
So there have been cases like that before.
there's cases like that in where the mom just doesn't like their child. They don't want to see their child. They pretty much just want to get rid of their child too. And those are very severe cases.
Wow. Holy smokes. Get rid of the baby?
Yes. So that's really scary. And I think I've seen it more now on TikTok.
Like more experiences of women going through that.
Or like, more women talking about it, being more open about it, or even sad news of like just their mom getting rid of their children. And that's really sad. And themselves too. Not just their children, but themselves too.
So even hurting themselves.
Yeah. So when it gets to that case, I even feel like a person should be not only in therapy, maybe they even need to be admitted into a hospital just to make sure they're stabilized. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I think those are more severe cases. Like when you feel like you want to hurt yourself and others and the rest, I think it's time to.
I feel like you might have been behind that stage, like one step lower. Like, because the way you're making it sound, seems.
I mean, I was close to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready to admit myself in a way.
Right.
But that didn't happen.
Bad.
I mean, I was close. What I mean by close is like I was there in front of that hospital.
Right. Oh, like that?
Oh, dear, took me, and then he regretted it because they locked everything out. They locked us in, and he was like, "What's happening?" I was like, "I don't know." And then he's like, "We can't leave," and I was like, "Nope, we can't. Now we can't. Now we're both stuck." And then he waited for the nurse, and he's like, "I think we don't need this anymore. We can go."
Oh man. So okay. And I have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about it here, because he's your husband. So as a man, what do you think husbands can do for us to help the situation when it comes to, let's say, for example, our future spouse, or
Mm-hmm.
when they have a baby? What is it that you think that man can do to facilitate things for the wife to help in any way? What do you think, in your experience, would have been like the best thing that a man could do? Because I would love to learn that. I would love to learn that one day, especially if I experience it. And I'm sure a lot of men who are listening could help, from that. So what do you think that's something that like we could do as men to like in that situation? Or maybe there isn't anything we can do, but I would love to hear your side of things.
I mean, you are going to try to do the right things, but because of the mental health state of your spouse or girlfriend or whatnot, you might think like, I'm just not solving nothing,
Right.
Because she's probably going to try to block all your help. Like in my case, I don't know, like I feel like it's very important first, if you're like a man of faith, that you have that strong foundation there, because it will really come in handy. Like, I feel like if you can just sit with her and like maybe just pray with her, like even if maybe she's crying or angry at you or telling you like, get away from me, like I don't want your prayers right now, just pray.
Right.
Just sit with her and pray, and just allow her to tell you what's actually going on in her head.
So
like
listen.
Maybe ask her questions like, okay, so what are you thinking? Because those are things that my mom asked me. She'll be like, okay, you're afraid, you have anxiety. What exactly are you thinking? There's something has to be. Your brain is not empty. Your brain is spiraling right now. So what are you thinking? What is happening? Even if it's the most horrible thought, just let me know.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot, because it's like it's no longer in your brain. You're actually saying it to someone and not making the other person feel ashamed. If maybe your wife or whoever says, I don't know, I'm thinking about like ending things. Like I want to end my life, or I hate our son right now, or our daughter, whatever it is. I feel like it's very important to just be open-minded and realize, okay, she's going through something. Her hormones are out of balance right now. It's a huge adjustment to having a newborn and whatnot. So being very open-minded, asking her questions like, what is exactly that's bothering you? What are you thinking? What are you truly afraid of?
Right.
And praying or reading even certain Bible verses together will definitely help a lot. And just show that support. I'm gonna be here with you no matter what. There's no judgment, even if you are hating me right now, or you hate our kid right now, or you hate yourself
Hate
right
life.
now. Yeah. Because that definitely helps. I feel like women like to express their emotions a lot, and they like to talk, and they like to take it out. Whereas men, I feel like they internalize things.
Right.
So I feel like during those moments, I just wanted to like say stuff. And I remember I just wanted to tell my mom, this is what's happening. This is what I'm thinking. Or I don't feel good. Or I'm having this thought now. Should we just listen and listen and listen? And sometimes that's all it takes. But also kind of like guiding her, like
Still leading her.
Right. Like maybe telling her like, you know what? We need to find you help. So we're going to go, I don't know, to a therapist together. Or we're going to go to the doctor. We're going to see what's going to work for you. You have to be very patient.
Yeah. Patience is, that's definitely.
You have to be very patient, because it's like if someone had cancer, you can't just be like, get the chemo, get over it. It'll be okay.
No.
You can't be cold-hearted like that. Yeah. So being patient and guiding her and leading her and realizing like it's going to take time. And you're going to have to be very patient and just realize this might take maybe a month, 2 months. Sometimes it's a year or 2 years to get out of that hole. So it's not something that's going to be fast.
Right.
It's work. And I feel like it will definitely test your marriage. I feel like it definitely tests your relationship, your marriage, the bond, like how strong, it's your bond with one another. Or like, I guess God will test it in being like, you're supposed to be there for the person, health or sick, right? So
through
are
health
you,
and sickness.
yeah. So are you going to be really there?
You're right.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
In my case, it was different, of course. I didn't want to take meds, but if you need it, do it. But therapy, definitely an essential. And I really hope they have the support system they need at the time.
Yeah. I think that's important too. And I'm glad fellas, listen, be there. You know what you mentioned? I think God being a strong foundation, I think that's good, because that's something you both can stand on. And for the man to guide you and show his leadership. You know what I read? I think this is in Proverbs, I think, that when people are mourning or going through like a tough season or tough episode, we always want to say the right things as humans, and especially as men, we want to like resolve the problem. But sometimes what people need, and Proverbs talks about this, is you just need to listen until the person starts talking and starts letting it out for you. You know what I mean? Just listen, just be there. You don't always have to say the right thing, or you have to solve the problem.
Men like to solve problems all the time.
We do, exactly.
They like to put a Band-Aid on everything.
And no, it's right. It's been, listen, I give you that because
it causes issues.
Listen, and this is, and you know what? This is what I feel like I find beautiful about both parties, men and women, right? That we are solvers. We like to fix problems, and but when we can't fix it or resolve it, it's hard for us to deal
frustrated?
with it. We do, because especially with someone we love, because we want it to be better. And we feel like we're not doing maybe our job about it. But again, I think we have to understand what the Bible says, right? Listen, be there. Even if you don't understand, talk, pray. And I think a lot of men lack those qualities because we weren't really taught that. Maybe we haven't read the Bible as much. Whatever the case may be, we're wired completely different. But if we want to get closer to a spouse and even listen to you guys and understand you guys, we have to get a little bit in our emotional side, in our understanding side. Like, hey, you're a completely different being. So I have to try to, meet you halfway to understand maybe what you're going through, and then you tell me what you need, and then we work from there. We pray about it, we talk about it. So I think that's important as men to and I feel like that's taking notes, man, getting better. And I appreciate you sharing that, because who knows if in the future that could help me or help any other guy that's listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Or even reach out maybe to other women who have experienced postpartum. At the time, I didn't have none of my friends.
That you can relate to?
Yeah, I had no one that I could relate to that had postpartum. And it could also be the fact that they were either because they never experienced it or also because they're not even married or have a child. So
Right.
most of them. So it's like, ah, man. So who do I ask?
Yeah.
To my mom, it was also new, and she had 3 children, so it was also new to her. She was like, I remember being angry, but not to this point, you know. So it was also new. It was new for absolutely everyone in my family. It got so deep that my whole family got involved.
Wow.
It was like us sitting down on the table. Let's find a solution.
What's gonna help Jazmine get over this?
What's gonna happen?
So have you ever? So I wanted to talk a little bit about your writing skills, and it's a good way to transition because I want to ask you something. So you write books all the time, and I've read your books. One of them, I've read some of the quotes and things you've put on there, and it's really, really good. Like I actually think it's great. I think you're a great writer. Have you ever thought about writing a book on this matter? Maybe you can share your experience in to women and stuff, and what you went through. I think that would be a good idea, even if it's like a small little, I don't know, anything. Have you ever thought about that?
Like a few pages on postpartum, poetry on postpartum.
Poetry, basically. Yeah, you can make
I could,
poetry.
yeah. I didn't think about that because when I usually write,
hey,
it's about.
I need my 5%. That's all I'm saying. Hey, that's all I'm saying. Nah, go ahead.
Usually when I write, it's about relationships that have ended. Or
Taylor
hurt
Swift
me.
vibes.
Pretty much.
You told me.
Yeah, pretty much. But I could write about postpartum now that you mention it.
I think you should. And you know what? There's groups on Facebook or all over the place that you can join and be like, hey guys, I have, GERD and surgery
Oh, you're right.
postpartum. And you can go on there and be like, hey guys, I've suffered through this. This is my story. I've written this for anybody that needs help with postpartum. And you would touch so many women.
I could do that.
Exactly.
Maybe write a whole novel.
Exactly. Hey, but listen, I think because it's a big part of your life. And I'm sure that if you went through it that deep, there's other women that have gone through it just as much as you have, if not even more. And maybe they need to hear that. They need to hear those poems because they not only want to read the poems, but hear your story. And alongside, you will share that with them.
Yeah, feel heard, validated, oh, okay,
correct.
She went through the same thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe hers was worse, or who knows?
Who knows? I think that would be great. So that would be cool if you write that. And I was going to ask you, how do you go about the process of writing a book? And then even I want to, because the reason I ask, because I eventually want to write a book of my story, a biography of my health, what I've went through and I've been through.
That'd
how do you
really
go about that?
interesting.
I think it would be pretty cool.
I don't know. I feel let's see. The decision came in 2019. Of course, everything came before the pandemic.
There is a before and after the pandemic, all right?
Yeah, the postpartum came after, but before the pandemic, I was actually, even through college, I remember my mom was constantly telling me, again, my mom.
Yeah.
She's like, Jazmine, I see that you have all of these journals, all of these writings. I read some of them. Maybe you should make it into a little book. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know who's going to read that? It's so silly because some of them I wrote when I was I was telling you, 16, 17, 18, 19, I was a teenager. Of course, some of them I wrote when I was older, but I was just who's going to be interested in that? And then I was maybe some of them are too cringy.
Hey.
But eventually she convinced me. So I decided to sit one day and I was like, you know what? Let me look at my journals and let me pick, because of course there's so many things I've written. But I was like, let me look at my journals and pick the ones that I like the most. They're not so cringy. They don't mention names. They're not so obvious to people when they read it. If the person that I wrote about, reads it, right. They might not know. I don't know. So that's what I did. I first collected all of my journals. I read them all. I picked the ones that I liked best. Then I started to do some research on it. I was just okay, so now how do I make the book?
Right.
Because I can just put it easily on Word, and I'm and then what next?
That's what I'm wondering. How did you?
You have to learn about formatting. YouTube was pretty much my teacher. I had to
Shout out YouTube.
yeah, I had to search on like how to format, like the measurements of the page. So when the pages print, it comes out like the size of the book.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go through the whole tutorial on that. And honestly, Amazon is good at doing that because I did it through KDP Publishing.
I heard Amazon can do that for you. Yeah.
Yes, and it's free.
Yeah.
It's free. And since it was my first book, I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And they have all these videos also on YouTube. So they have all these tutorials, how to format like the page and how to do the cover. They make it very easy for you. They have like this free program in where you can just upload your book and then they tell you, okay, now upload the cover. And it tells you this is exactly how it's going to look when it prints. So if it looks blurry on the screen in your computer, it's going to look blurry when it prints, Obviously, they earn, how do you call it? Royalties?
Yeah, a little royalty from what percentage?
Yeah, royalties. I think it's 25%. I don't know. They earn something. It's better than...
But I think from you not doing any work to putting it to, that's not, I don't think that's a bad idea.
It was mainly the formatting part, but the cover, I did it myself. So that the flowers and stuff you see, I drew that with my iPad. And then I used Photoshop.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so it can fit the KDP formatting.
I'm telling you, Jazmine, you got talent, girl. You need to put your work out there somewhere. You need to keep working on that, because I'm telling you, I've read some of what you wrote in Spanish and it's good, man. Like, it's fire. I'm telling you, and I'm not just hyping you up.
Make you cry?
No, it's good because I was telling you, it makes me, when I read that, it's like it makes me want to send that to somebody special. Like, and I was like, I read that Dos Minutos. I don't know if you're like.
Oh my God, I shared that on Valentine's Day.
I read so I read that and I was like,
that's so
good. Nah, but that was good though. Kind of remind me of like RBD 5 Minutos, whatever. But
yeah, I told you I was a teenager.
Hey, listen,
it's like listening to that and writing my poems.
See, and I saw that and I was like, that's really good, man. So I think personally that keep going with that. And when, you know what, whenever I need help, I might come back to you, because I really want to write a book and I really want to
like a novel, like an autobiography.
I don't know how I want to do it. I want to do it to a point where it's nothing big, but I do want to share my story and like the issues that I've gone through, but alongside share like Bible verses that pertain to that time and period.
That'd be great.
You know, like how that pertains and how that relates to it, and then kind of just keep it going that way, and then make it like I've been suffering from like really deep health issues for about like a decade almost. So you know what I mean. So maybe like when I hit like a decade, like kind of release that. And making a small book like you did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it was like, 115 pages maybe?
No.
I have...
Not poems, though. I don't want to do poems because I can't do that. I suck.
I tried. But I'm working on one. You were asking about that too. I think it's going to be called Your Love and Farewell. And that's poems that I've written also in 2019, 2018. So it's not... I wasn't a teenager anymore, so... I think I like those better in a way, but I mean, I have it there. It's just there waiting. But the difference is that I don't want to do it through KDP Publishing. I think I want to you actually have to when I did my research, you can spend up to $5,000 trying to publish a book by with someone that's going to support you, and you have the editor and everything else.
Right.
It's a lot of work, and people proofreading your stuff. That's if you obviously wanted to see it in Barnes & Noble. You wanted to potentially get it to be a New York Times bestseller. You have to invest maybe $1,000 to $5,000 max. I think $5,000 is if you also hire an illustrator to illustrate your cover.
To see if it picks it up too, though, right? Somebody picks it up.
Yeah, because sometimes you want illustrations. With poetry, I've noticed that some people like illustrations on every page, like Rupi Kaur, which is really... She's really great with her poems, like, Milk and Honey, one of her books.
I think I've heard of that before, actually.
Milk and Honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has way more than that, but that's...
That just sounds delicious, too.
Yeah, yeah, her book is amazing. That poetry book inspired me a lot, too. But it is an investment if you want it to be, big, you know? And I think that's why I'm being a little bit more selfish with it. I'm like, okay, I have the pages. Now it's, the investment. You have to invest, make sure that, of course, they're not going to take advantage of you either. Or like steal your stuff.
Right.
Because that can happen. You have to find the proper,
Team.
the proper team.
Mm.
And you go to these pages and you search online, like, publishers. There's so many pages, and sometimes it tells you the deadline is over. Try again in November. Like, the deadline is closed. They open it again in November for certain publishers.
I need to look into that. I feel like publishing a book,
It takes time.
it's a whole process. I need to start writing it first.
And then they team you up with someone, and they're like, okay, you guys, I guess you work together on it. And I think that's when it kind of starts your writing career, I guess. And then I guess from there, they kind of motivate you and tell you, okay, so when is your next one?
Gotcha.
And your next one. And like, okay, we're going to keep going.
Okay. So, I get you. So for the people out there that even want to read, if you guys are interested in Spanish, I'm going to link. You still do it on Amazon, right? The book that I have?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's still there.
So I'm going to link I'm going to put the link on the description of the video if you guys want to buy the book. It's all in Spanish, but I think it's very beautiful and it's really, really good. And I'm also going to share it on my story. So whenever the episode releases, so hopefully people can show you some love and they like to read, And I think hopefully it inspires you to continue to write your stuff. I think it's good. I think you're good. So
thank you, Carlos.
You're welcome. It's all love. It's all love around here. Is there anything else you want to share as we come to a close on this podcast today? Anything or you feel like you're good?
I think I'm good.
Think you're good?
I think I really hope I help like the girls out there, with my story on postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was kind of like my goal with this episode in a way. Maybe they can feel identified, or maybe they're going through it right now.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
They don't know where to go, what to do. Their resources are sometimes they can be tough to find too. I'm not gonna lie on that one. Like, it's really tough. But it's really essential that you speak up too. Like, don't just sit down on your anger or sadness or anxiety. Speak up, say it, even if they look at you funny or whatever it is. Like, just say it and be like, look, I want to be better. And I think that's the first step, saying like, I want to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's even hard to say that when you're feeling that way.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you shut down in a way. So I think that's one of the first steps. I want to feel better, or I'm not myself. Can you help me? Like, even if it's like a friend from church, or like just anywhere, even if it's like an uncle or an aunt, anyone that you have to trust deeply and be like, you need to help me because this is what's happening and I'm not doing well.
Right.
And maybe they can guide you. If you need to go with a person to the hospital, the doctor, the therapist, whatever it is, go with a person and try to feel better, because you'll be thankful for yourself and for your child.
Got you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate you being vulnerable and coming on today and sharing that. And I'm sure you're going to touch a lot of lives. I've always told myself that if you help one person with your story, you've made a difference in the world, because you never know what that can translate to for that person and their family, their friends. You never know who else you're going to touch. So thank you for coming on and sharing your stories. I really appreciate you. Again, your transparency, your vulnerability. And then, whenever you want to come on again, you're welcome, especially when we want to talk about more books.
I can talk about Odir next.
We can talk about Odir all day, every day. But we're going to have him on soon. He can talk about himself first. Then
maybe his side of the story.
Yeah, his side.
She told you, she said her side of the story. You want to hear mine now, because it wasn't easy.
She wasn't letting me play video games, man. She was telling me she was feeling like this. I was top 3. I can see this.
You saw I was being dramatic yesterday on my story. I put that sad song while he was playing video games.
I thought it was a great time. I liked it because I just like the fact that he finally got a setup, and it's like the screen is right here. Before he used to sit on a chair, huge ass TV. I'm like, you can't even see.
And a little tiny chair.
I remember that. I remember all that, man. That was a good time.
Pandemic times.
Pandemic times were different, man. You know what? That's crazy. I always think about you, Odir, John, and just the guys that we used to play video games with at the pandemic time, because that's all we did.
I know he remembers that too. He's like, you remember when you were when I was playing with Carlos and you were just reading your books, and I was like, yeah, I remember that.
That's so fun.
You like ignore me for like 8 hours, but Okay.
I think that's where my postpartum comes from. I think that's my PTSD.
Yeah, but I did get tired of seeing him on that chair. That's why I got him that chair, that gaming chair that he has.
But see, that's fire, man, because I'm sure he loves
And then
that.
I regretted it, but I got him that chair for Valentine's Day, and then I was like, you know what?
Maybe it's a bad idea. He's not gonna get off of it. He's not gonna get
But
off
it was
of it.
either that or him like stumbling on that little chair. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't blame him. Plus, no, it's good. He's stepping up with the setup. Maybe he does a little bit better now. And I just
He says he needs a new controller, and that's why he sucks.
Oh, is that what that is?
He puts any excuse. Now it's the controller, it's the headphones.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, thank you for being here today. Appreciate you. And everybody, I hope you guys liked this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget that we are on YouTube and this video is recorded in 4K. So you can watch it and it's great quality. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notifications so whenever I post a video, you're the first one to get the notifications. And if you're listening, of course, thank you guys for the people who have followed my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Thank you guys for all the love. We will see you guys next time. Take care of each other. Peace and love, baby. And thank you, Jazmine, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.